It's movie time, and we're back again with movie time. Hey, everybody, welcome back. AFM is over, and we are back once again. And with me is also my co-host Arpo. Hey, Arpo, how you doing?
Oh, I'm great now that we're out of that spooky cabin in the woods. I tell you, I kept having nightmares that some fiend was chasing after me with a pair of scissors. Man, if I ever run into that guy in a dark alley, I'm sure. Oh, WC.
And our co-host Olaf will be joining us shortly. He's just briefly away there. He hasn't had enough AFM fun from us. And tonight we are joined by our incredible guest, Mr. Corky Kessler. Hey, Corky, how you doing?
I'm doing fabulous. It was so great to meet you at AFM.
No, the pleasure was ours.
But definitely ours.
We had fun at the Sunset Marquee, huh?
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, later on that weekend, Kessler and I were hosting the people involved with the Coral Quest community. That's trying to restore the coral reefs and everything, and we had more fun than my pocketbook wanted to handle. But yeah, but that's a beautiful place. It really is.
That's where I stay all the time.
By the way, I saw Sting at Rhode Island Comic Con, so that was also another reason why we were a little bit delayed, folks, in our return. We also took a detour to Rhode Island Comic Con.
Well, that's something that I don't go to. I'm not necessarily a Comic Con guy.
Yeah, it's like it is a completely different world. You are right on that. So can you tell us a little bit about how did you get started into entertainment law, and how did you get started? A little bit about you.
Well, I started out as a felony criminal prosecutor in Cook County, and during my tenure there, I was and I did that for 8 years, and then in 1984. Someone asked me, do I want to invest in a play? And I said, I know nothing about the theater business, and no, I don't want to invest in a play. And in that conversation, I was a lawyer and executive for one of the projects, Driving Mississippi, Steel Magnolia, Shirley Valentine, Rappaport, Drinking Drive. In the middle of that, someone said that I want to go into an independent film, and that was about 1991. And I said, I know nothing about film business, but tell me what you're doing. And I raised all the money from the government of Australia to do my first movie, The Sum of Us. Starred Russell Crowe and Jack Thompson. And it won the Academy Award for Best Picture, and it was the largest feature film in history of Australia. So I was very fun.
Very cool.
Yes.
And now 36 movies later, here I am.
Yes, 36 movies. How many studios?
And I represent a studio in Baton Rouge and a studio in London. I'm very active.
Absolutely, it's like, and I mean that is so incredibly wonderful. It's like, so tell me about a little bit about some of the challenges that you find in the legal system with the entertainment law versus criminal law.
Well, look, there are legal obstacles people have to go to. First of all, they don't ever know when they should hire a lawyer, and unfortunately, a firm called Olson and the Brothers, and they're a total intellectual property law firm that I joined a couple months ago, and I brought my whole practice to them, and it's been a great opportunity for us now, and for everything we need to do or any movie or television.
So they weren't very knowledgeable in that division to begin with. They were more IP laws.
They were totally IP. They were copyright trademark, um, litigation in areas, patent, and very, very intelligent technical people. So I'm the exact opposite.
Well, it's like, yeah. Also, it's a really interesting thing because it's like we can also start in that IP category with it. It's like a lot of times it's like with copyright. It's like it's starting to get very, very marred because of co-productions and blurred lines and ownerships and stuff.
Every movie needs intellectual property work about 4 to 5 times per movie. And it's very important that people understand that. When I tell filmmakers, the one thing they don't pay attention to the degree that they should is chain of title of the ownership concerning the property that they have.
Yeah, chain of title is vastly important in regards to that. It's like understanding that it's like, look, just because you asked permission doesn't mean that it means anything. You have to get it in writing.
And then I think anybody that's venturing into the film business should come one year to Sundance. It's the best networking festival of all of them. I speak at Sundance, I speak at Cannes, and I speak at Toronto, but nothing holds a candle to 22,000 independent filmmakers coming to Park City for that wonderful 5 to 10 days in the middle of January.
Wow, it's like that. That does sound impressive. It's like, yes, I plan to get to Sundance and be able to see that.
Fortunate that I moderate women in film panels all over the world. I'm an advocate for the women in film.
Do you think that we are finally getting an expansion of women in film now that it's kind of been path cleared, so to speak, even though there has been paths, I know, in the past in regards to that? People like Sherry Lansing.
I'm very active, and I'm working with the International Women in Films to try to get a database of every woman who's in the film or television business from all the women in film chapters. So I know who's a DP, who are the directors, who are the producers, categories, and some background on who they are and what they have done.
That's fantastic because it will definitely then help to be able to find, when you are looking for different people in those departments.
Right. So, because a lot of my clients do want to hire women for their movies.
They just don't know where to find them.
Right. So hopefully there'll be a database coming out soon.
Which will be great because also then in terms of that PR publicists, people like that, also it's like women who are directors, DPs, all of that will get that great opportunity. Grips, gaffers, people who normally would be hidden under the spotlight.
So if people come to Sundance, we do a panel and we do a pitch session, and we're only allowed 15 people to pitch, and the winner of the pitch gets $1,000 and over $200,000 of free service in their movie.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Yeah. So that's our way of giving back.
Do you think that there's enough that's being done for people legally? Because one of the things I've often wondered, long ago, I got a clearance certificate done for a project. How important are clearance certificates, or do they count in today's day and age?
Pardon?
Clearance certificates in regards to that. So,
well, clearance has to do with a title report. And
correct.
the title report you have to order from a company that really does it and gives you clearance as to who owns the title. Every distributor will want a title report to make sure that you have an ownership to the title. And you can't prove it unless you do a title report.
Okay. And
Now, I'm sorry for interrupting. I'm
Go
a
ahead.
little confused because I thought that there were laws in place that you couldn't copyright a title or claim a title as your own.
Well,
I mean,
you cannot copyright a title. You cannot. But you can copyright anything written from a treatment, from an outline, from a screenplay. You could copyright a finished movie. You could copyright anything that's visual or written, but you cannot
okay.
copyright a title.
So the clearance, what it does is it just assures you that nothing else has been made with this title in the past.
Well, when you have a movie, before you get your rating, the MPAA sends out the title of your movie to every place that you can imagine. And then a lot of objections come in to your title with titles that are similar or have one similarity. And you, as their lawyer, have to explain the differences from those titles to yours. But even though you cannot copyright a title, if you have the same title as another movie and it's dealing with the same subject matter, you may not get rated by the MPAA.
So you may be forced to change your title
Right.
in regards to it.
Right.
Now, also, I know that with clearance companies, they also run interference on you infringing on other people's works and stuff if they feel like that in terms of that. How does that work in terms of legal actions? Because this will lead to a very interesting question that we've had. That finally we get somebody that can answer this for us.
Okay, run that question by me again.
Oh, because a lot of clearance companies, what they'll do is they'll clear like names in the film, or if you're running over somebody else's IP, or if it's actually proprietary to you, or did you credit correctly when you were like dealing with some other source material and stuff like that. What are the legalities that go behind that? And how does that help secure?
Take a look at the movie Forrest Gump.
Yes.
You saw all these segments of other work that was put in, interposed into the movie. And there's a doctrine called fair use. Do you have the right under fair use? And that's so fact control. No lawyer can give you an opinion until they review everything about what you're trying to use. If it's a strict comedy, got total clearance. You can use anything you want for a comedy, and it's fair game. But if it's not a comedy, you have to go into the fair use doctrine.
Okay, so and make sure that you're crediting accordingly.
Yes.
Because this brings me to that interesting question. We have been following a case that has been going on for quite a while regarding a piece of software that's now being used by Marvel, that initially these two people who were partnered together decided that they were going to be there. The guy claims he's done it independently, but the other guy is like, well, you were working under my employ at the time. They broke up their partnership. The partner left and sold the materials under what he claimed was his right to have them to a company in China, who then sold it to Marvel.
Okay, well, all right. In the United States, there's a doctrine called shop rights.
Yes.
If you're employed by someone and you develop whatever you develop during the working hours under the employee of someone, then the company owns what you created.
Okay.
If it's something that's you do outside of your employment and you develop it, then there's no shop rights, as they call it, and you're free to do it. But China does not have good copyright laws. China is not good at protecting or caring about protecting property. I am very friendly with everyone in the film business in Beijing. I'm an adjunct professor at the Beijing Film Academy. And the people are so nice, but they don't understand, they don't appreciate the aspect of copyright protection.
Okay, because it's like if it was done then outside of his employee hours, even if it was done on company equipment, it does belong to that person. Because right now that's what's being disputed, and Marvel's like, well, do we get to use the tech or don't get to use the tech because we can't even figure out who owns the tech
Well,
that's
listen,
being used.
that's an intellectual property quagmire. The lawyers, and especially also, you have to decide what's the basic root of what the issue is and where the issue is and who owns what. Sometimes it's very hard to decide when you have several companies, one of which happens to be in China, who claims they own the rights, and you don't have someone to check it.
Yeah. And is that a case of like lawyers just not checking to make sure that it's like, is it the same with software as it is with scripts or with anything else? It's like in terms of the legal issues.
And well, again,
Like,
I am friends with a lot of people in China, and
yes.
and there are a lot of projects that are called co-productions between China and the other parties. It's just a whole different world, and uh, you could bring. Well, look, there are a lot of times you have invented something.
Yes.
You have invented software, and then you join partners with somebody else to sell your software.
Yes.
And then lo and behold, that person who is really the sales arm at some point assumes that they have some ownership in the software. And
Mm-hmm.
it becomes a pretty big argument. We're going through that with one of my clients now.
Okay, so it makes absolute sense in regards to that. Let's talk a little bit also then moving forward on pre-production. Because a lot of people, yes, because a lot of people don't understand. It's like there's a lot of paperwork that gets needed to be done, not only change the title, but other things as well in pre-production that a lawyer could really help them out with.
Well, okay. Before pre-production, there's a stage called development.
Correct.
And in the development phase, I call it development hell because
Yes.
most people get stuck in the development phase and they can't get out. But the reason they can't get out is twofold. One, it takes money to get into development stage. So people
Yes.
who cost money, they're mistaken. And the second issue is if you've got a very credible team that surrounds you in the business aspect of what you're doing, many times money finds it. But you have to, you have to make sure that you have money. And I draft development fund agreements.
Yes.
Because it's the biggest risk, and we would give the investor 30% plus on their investment. It comes from the budget, but if the film never gets budgeted, they don't get anything. It's a total loss. So it's the biggest risk. And they get paid back plus their 30%.
Which makes sense. Definitely, because it's like they need to have their copyright protected and stuff,
Yeah.
and making sure that.
Do we have any
Like,
questions or people there?
Pardon me?
Do we have any people listening in?
Yes, we do, and they said hi.
Okay.
It's like they waved. It's like I know that we do have quite a few listeners. It's like they definitely are going to be seeing us live. In regards to that, and I reminded my audience, our audience as well, that yes, we are live.
Okay, and if they have any questions, they should ask them.
Yes, please. It's like go ahead and ask them. It's like we'll be able to answer them for you. But
if you stop to think about how long we've waited to get an entertainment lawyer on the show. People, this is your chance to take advantage of that situation.
Well,
So-
and I was voted, which I don't think means much, but I was voted the best entertainment lawyer in the United States, and I don't know what that means yet. But I'll tell you if I ever find out what that means.
It means you tell really great stories.
Well, no, it's like it also it means that you really know what you're doing, and it's like it's a pleasure having you here because I mean it can answer a whole lot of questions. In the development stage, also, it's like a lot of people don't realize you have to deal with the incorporation of a company and deal with also the LLCs of the company and their paperwork as well.
Well, yeah, I'm writing private placement memorandums. I'm writing. I've written maybe 100 LLC sets of documents, the operating agreement, the subscription agreement, the investor questionnaire, the manager questionnaire. And if there's any unaccredited investor that you're going after, protect the filmmaker, they should also have their lawyer draft a private placement memorandum to protect them.
Absolutely, because it's like it should be for them as well. Also, you deal with bonding company agreements as well.
A bonding company?
Correct.
Yeah, well, there's no movie that has got a completion bond that has a budget substantially lower than $1.5 million. There's no bonding company that's going to take a risk.
So above 5 million, though, they do take the risk to make sure to bond
Yeah,
it.
but if you have a bondable line producer who has never never gone over budget, and a lawyer who has never been sued, you get the lowest premium that you can get.
Very cool. It's like I know that some bonding companies legally have said that they are between 3 to 6%. Is that standard?
Well, no, I can get a bond premium if everyone's bondable at 2.75.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It's like, and now what is considered to be bondable? Because a lot of people don't understand that in the legal sense of like what is bondable or versus not bondable.
For a lawyer, it's someone that's been doing this for a significant period of time and has never been sued.
Mm-hmm.
And a line producer who's in charge of the budget, who's over budget.
And what does that also deal for the filmmakers as well? For the bonding process?
It has nothing to do with the filmmaker.
Okay, so it has to do with the line producer and
the
the lawyer in regards to it, to making sure that the film is bondable.
Yes.
And of course, the budget, it has to be accurate to their satisfaction.
The bonding company takes a look at the budget.
Yes.
Because they have the experience.
And they do the final say on, yes, the show is bondable, or no, the show is not in our category.
Well, I work with a particular bonding company. And when I send them a project, they pretty much know that the project's bondable. And they will take a look and they will give an estimate of what the premium is. And it's my job to even try to get it lower.
Very cool. It's like also another thing that I wanted to ask you, because another thing that happens in the development stage, a lot of people don't realize, is insurances. And they go hand in hand with that.
But they don't have to worry about during the development phase.
Correct.
The development phase is, who am I going to add to my team? Well, I need a director during development. Well, I need a producer during development. Well, I need a casting director during development. Do I need a distributor to consult with me during development? Each of those are line items that you have to address as to who you want to add to your team. And building is critical in this stage because you won't, even if you have money, you won't get out of development unless you spend it on the right team.
Correct. And making sure that your team is a great team and that there's a lot of agreements in place, that it's like also protect you, the filmmaker, as well as also on the producer end as well.
Right.
making sure it's like this is another thing that that I will go into, because it's like I've seen what has been quote unquote some independent productions versus others that are actually independent productions.
Well, look, if you take all the movies that were nominated for Best Picture over the last 3 years and put them in one pile, only 4 of them were not wholly or substantially privately funded. The studios do not have money to make movies, with few exceptions, on these big tentpole movies, the $100+ million movies. But the cinemas and every viewing outlet that there is today is dependent upon the independent filmmakers bringing their wonderful stories to the screen. Because if they didn't have those, they would have empty screens and empty venues.
So you think that also then the exhibitors are starting to appreciate the independent world, and the distributors are starting to really open up to the independent world for content?
Well, the theaters have to, because the studios aren't delivering movies. So they have to look at all these wonderful independent and privately financed movies. Black Swan, Crazy Heart, A Little Miss Sunshine, and the movies go on and on and on and on. You look at last year, the 10 movies, only 2 were not wholly or substantially privately funded. You look at these wonderful movies that people look and really realize that the great stories. And private investors, even The Wolf of Wall Street,
Yes.
was privately funded by the man that it was based upon.
Yeah. It's, which is really a kicker for him. It's like
Talk about your ultimate vanity project, huh?
The King's Speech, privately funded. I mean, the film after film after film. So the film business belongs and will belong for a very, very long time to the independent filmmakers.
well, which makes it's like we have to become a more independent film industry, because studios are deciding that they want to wrap their heads only in tent poles, and
That they only collectively made 10 movies last year.
yes.
So, Darren, look, the Toronto Film Festival
Yes.
became successful by the brilliance of saying that you only need to be a North America premiere to be at the Toronto Film Festival. So they get these great movies with great talent coming to Toronto, even if it's opening in the United States and Canada 5 days later. So the brilliance of building it like that. Sundance, you cannot have a distributor, or you don't get into Sundance. And you can't show it anyplace else, or you can't get it. So it's 106 really, really independent films that are looking for buyers.
Well, and that also is an advantage to them as well, because it's like then they truly have an audience that has never seen their product.
Well, and the biggest buyers at Sundance and at Cannes and Toronto were Netflix and Amazon and AOL.
Let's talk about those players. It's like I know that Amazon, Netflix, AOL, iTunes, Hulu, all of them are starting to become major players. Are they starting to get a little bit more, for lack of a better word, film savvy?
Yeah,
or
they are. I mean, they are people that are putting money out there. They are people at the Cannes Film Festival last year, which is really not a film festival. They only show in competition about 14 movies, and it's a world market. But 2 of them were Netflix movies. And the people in France were very upset because they said Netflix is not a theatrical outlet. And therefore, Cannes is only for films that are going to be out there theatrically. So they thought of pulling Netflix movies out of the Cannes Film Festival. Then they decided it will be the last time that they ever do it. So Netflix decided, okay, we're going to have our movies show in one theater in France, and one theater in the United States, and one theater in Canada, so they can never say we're not a theatrical.
Yeah, we cover the theatrical then. But honestly, it's like it's one of the things that also Netflix is getting into the model of also theatrical as well, because they had proposed at one point in time for the smaller independent theaters of going into much like the same services that they use for online, going to theaters where you pay a fee a month and get to see films. What's that going to do to the actual industry? Will it actually open it up more? Because maybe you'll get to see films you didn't get a chance to see before.
Well, okay. Netflix has been very successful in the original television shows, and a lot of money. A House of Cards.
Yes.
And, although it's not going now anymore because of Kevin Spacey.
We know all about that. We've talked about that too.
There were a lot of broken hearts on this show that day.
Yes.
But and what's very interesting is they had a finished movie with Kevin Spacey in it, finished, and they took him out of every part and put Plummer in to do every new part that Kevin Spacey was in. Now this is a finished
movie.
Wow.
It's like they literally went frame by frame and inserted.
Yes, yeah, Christopher Plummer.
Oh my gosh.
So they're realizing, and the people who are out of work, House of Cards, would have potentially a legal action on interference with a contract because of the person who did the things that he.
Yeah, with Kevin Spacey being accused of what he's done,
and then there were people who were agents at CAA that were walked out of the office. Louis C.K.
Yeah, Corey Feldman talking about the people who he. Yeah,
I mean, so these people felt that their power would allow them to do whatever they wanted to do. It's a shame.
It is. Because unfortunately, it's like there's no power like that to be able to do it.
Well, look, you got a gentleman who's running for Senate in Alabama, Judge Roy Moore, who is accused by 5 women of having sex or affairs with them when they were underage or at the age of 16 when he was 30-something. But yet, Alabama still wants him to be senator. They said they'd rather have a pedophile than vote for a Democrat.
Well, and that's well, mind you, it's like look at who's in office as president currently. So
this is true, but still, ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch. So that's the skinny. But I'd like to answer any questions if there are questions.
Yes. Well, yes. It's like let's see. If we have our audience asking us a question, we will shortly have that. It's like somebody's writing something on the say something category, so they are definitely writing about it.
So let me tell you how they can contact me. My cell phone.
Yes.
312-925-2110. My email is 8 as in Harry Kessler, Kess as in Sam, LER at Olson, OLSONIP, I as in Ida, P as in Peter.com. So I'd love to have them contact me with any questions afterwards.
Yes, please. It's like, and if they have any questions regarding that, one of the questions I've also had for a while, it's like in regards to with when you're talking in pre-production, it's like a lot of times that there is fights within pre-production of things that it's like, okay, you've already gone through the development stage, you've established your people. It's the jurisdictions of between countries, from country to country to country, especially with things like that are multimedia platforms.
Well, look, disagreements that are
Yes.
constructive and creative have a purpose.
Yes.
But people who are on the team that should be thrown off the team, it becomes a cancer. And if they have a separate agenda, then actually the project, you want them off the team, and
Yes.
the cancer spreads until you get that person off your team. So you got to be very sensitive to what the goals for your team are, because there should be no separate goals.
True.
And so you, and also on any film set, there are things that happen.
Yes.
I was on a movie, the attorney on a movie, and we had an actress who I won't name, and she wouldn't come out of her dressing room one day because she said the screenplay was not what she thought it would be.
Wow.
She was hired, she kept the money, she read the screenplay, and she wouldn't come out of her dressing room until we called her agent and said she had 5 minutes to get out, or there would be ramifications that she really did not want to have happen.
So what kind of legal ramifications can happen? It's like in conflicts of, like, for example, you started production, director and producer don't agree with one another, or the writer tries to become diva on set, or if there's an actor who it's like at the time that you've contracted them. What are some of the...
First of all, I find it very disheartening to have a writer on the set, because they think that their words should mean something different than how the director is bringing out the nuances of the scene. So I'm not a fan of the writer being on the set. That's me.
Yes.
And if a writer is a director, and they serve both purposes, you have quite a few directors. I often wonder, do they have separate views? Can the writer discuss the fact that he or she's the writer and make the director decisions that need to be made? And I sometimes think that it's very hard for them to separate the two. And because of that, I find it very difficult to have the same person do jobs.
Oh, I would concur with that a lot of times, because it's like you don't. It's like the one thing that is the writer, you're told, don't get married to your words. Same thing as a director, don't get married to the script because it can change.
So you're a writer.
I'm a director.
But you're writer
yes,
too.
Yes, correct, a co-writer. But it's like the first thing I always say is that it's like, look, once you've written it, you leave it alone. That's not your job. As director, you are the director.
Right. So if you were the writer of a project,
correct,
was going to do, and you wanted to direct, then you'd be better off having someone else direct, and you be the shadow of that person who's got greater experience. But a lot of writers don't. I'll give you an example. The state of Illinois had a screenwriting contest many years ago, and the winner came to see me.
Yes.
And the project was called Lonely Street. The project was about an advertising executive on his 50th birthday on Halloween had everyone come as their favorite dead entertainer. And they hired an Elvis impersonator. And it turned out to be the love affair between Elvis and Marilyn.
Correct.
Secretary dressed up as Marilyn. And a great story. I got Russell Crowe very interested because he always wanted to play Elvis, and we had the money.
Yes.
When we had the money, we were told for the first time that the girl who, her husband, who had never directed, wanted to be the director.
And he had never done any work prior to that.
And we said no. And she said, no, then we're not doing a movie. We got all the money. We got great actors. And for the first time, the husband says, I want to direct this movie.
Mm-hmm. And it had no previous experience directing whatsoever.
And so the whole thing fell apart.
Wow. Because they wanted somebody who absolutely had none, not even a day one experience behind the camera.
Right. But
directing.
The writer's husband.
Ah. Because it was the writer's husband that they wanted to do that.
Yeah,
See, no, in terms of the it's like in terms of directors. It's like you do believe also in newer directors, though, coming up once they've already cut their chops.
Right, and a lot of money people don't want to put money in with someone who's providing a service that has very little experience. They're very hesitant.
Yes.
So hard to find money. So that's the story about that.
That's why it's always better. It's like if you do get to certain levels, it's like where you start out in directing. One of the things that Franco Sama had told us in regards to the interview is what you do is you start it off in baby steps. You go under 1 million. You start off like a small thing, then under 1 million, move your way up in baby steps. You don't jump from 0 to 60.
Or write something that is so marketable that you've got competitive bids. That's a story that needs to be told. Look at Usual Suspects.
Yes. I love that movie.
I mean, I know who did, but where did they come up with the name like Kaiser Sose?
Yeah.
I said to the screenwriter when I met him, and he gave me an autographed copy of the screenplay. I said, I missed him. I didn't ask you, where did you get a name like Kaiser Sose? And he looked at me, he says, that's the name of my lawyer.
Nice. Oh my gosh.
So I'm not to oversimplify a thing, but okay, obviously, if there's an argument between the actor and the director as a rule is going to be the one that's kind of in charge of making sure that argument gets settled.
Well, not the producer's job is to make the movie.
Correct.
Okay.
The producer that has to step in and try to resolve it.
Right.
I had that on my first movie with Russell Crowe and the director having a disagreement. And the producer came to me and said, since Corky, you know both of them, can you step in to the phone and try and resolve it? Fortunately, that happened, and I did. But that doesn't always happen.
Now, what's the recourse if, say, you've got a director that's in charge of, getting this movie out. You've got a producer that's responsible for getting this movie out. If they have a major disagreement, who steps in then?
Well, it's the producer's job, right? The producer can fire the director. The director cannot fire the producer.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But if the director is the producer, then that becomes another major conflict.
Well, again,
wearing too many hats of one person.
You hope not.
I was going to say, so if the director is the producer, how could the director be having an argument with the producer? That gets confusing.
Well,
yeah, look, and the actors love to work with a director that knows what he or she does.
Exactly.
The direction from the person. It's an amazing process. Having been on the sets, and typically I get on the set always, it's in the budget for the first week. Because if there's going to be a problem, it rears its ugly head during the first week.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just like we've heard from the bonding companies, the best bonding companies are the ones you never see.
Right. And people in the film business don't really know sometimes how to move forward. My job is to protect my client. Simple and straightforward. I protect. At the same time, my job is to protect the money.
Yes.
So I want my clients to understand at the end of the day, thank you, but I want to protect the money. Make sure that the money is spent wisely. Make sure that the money is on the screen, not in someone's pocket. So that's my job.
Yep. And every good director knows that it's like you have to also keep in mind that there's an investor that stands behind this. So you can't have your artistic vision overcloud the business of film as well.
Right. So, and look,
yeah,
I am very fortunate. And second of all, I do not take clients that I can't break bread with because life is too short.
Why would you want to like be with a client that it's like you're going, oh God?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I'm very blessed that I have wonderful clients.
And also wanted to ask in regards to, it's like you've also dealt a lot in the post-production process.
Well,
there's a lot of...
Okay, go ahead, sorry.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, but most of the litigation happens to do in post-production because of copyright infringements on music.
Yes.
So most of the legal actions federally have to do with music, which happens in post. But I'm someone because music is such an important part that you should think about it during pre-production. You don't have to think about it and know what you're going to do, so you don't just decide during post. So there should be a plan during pre-production. And the second part of pre-production is the editor. And the editor sits with the director day in and day out and goes through every scene of the movie. And most of the time, they make smart choices as to what they cut out. I've been in every movie almost that I'm the attorney on, and I've been very, very fortunate that I've been cut out of every scene that I've continued
yeah. Oh no. It's like, I'm sorry that you've wound up on the cutting room floor.
Yeah. Well, I'm very happy.
Sometimes that's a blessing in disguise, though.
Yeah. So it is. I mean, it is.
Sometimes, though, the most vicious legal argument is also who gets final cut.
Well, that's the biggest debate, and I was on a movie where we were moving forward until we got to the director's agreement, and the director demanded final cut. The producers said, no, it's the money that wants final cut. And the director said, you wouldn't have me to direct this movie. You need my name. I want the final cut. And the producer said, yes, you're right, we want you, but we're not going to do final cut. So what we did in that situation, we submitted both cuts to the distributor, and the distributor decided which they would go to. So the producer had a final cut, and the director had his own final cut. It leads to a lot of argument. You would not argue necessarily with Scorsese. If Scorsese, as the director, wanted final cut, you'd say go for it. Okay, but there are not many besides him.
Yes.
And final cut is one of the cardinal debates. Sometimes the video release of the movie is the director's final cut. The on-screen is the producers. So you try to figure it out.
Do they do that anymore of like what they did with the Rocky Horror Picture Show, where you had the UK version, the US version, so to speak?
Pardon?
On the Rocky Horror Picture Show, if you look at the DVD, there's a US version, there's a UK version that they did of it. Do they do the same thing with? There is just slight differences between them. You really have to like really look closely back to back with them. Do they do that same sort of thing now, basically dividing out the DVD? Here's your director's version, your final cut version. Which one do you want to see?
Very, very rarely. And the DVD market is really down so much. The VOD market, video on demand.
Yes.
And then I was told by someone who's my distributor client, if the title of your movie is below a C, lower than a C, you lose 50% or more of your VOD market.
Interesting.
So think about this. The numbers come first, and unless you know a movie you're going to want, you go right to that. But if you're scrolling, you're going to more often than time find something before you get to D that you're going to want.
Yes.
So I had a client did a movie that was called The Age of the Dragon. Forgot the V, and now become Age of the Dragon.
Ah.
Okay, and so you sometimes people have to think of their title. Not that they should change it just because of that, but the VOD market has become a very lucrative market.
Well, are VOD markets then going to be moving into something very similar, like having your behind the scenes or your anything like that? Or do you think that they're going to still remain pretty much like a regular streaming market?
Not so far. But Netflix does.
Yeah. Because I know that there is some behind the scenes ones that they've been starting to do on Netflix where they'll have like, a little vignette of like 5 minutes before the movie began and stuff, or
right. And the law firms who have an entertainment lawyer have to sort out some expenses because if an entertainment lawyer wants to travel the business, that's what happens. I'm very blessed that the firm that I'm with fully understands it, but at the end of the day, when you're talking at these film festivals, you're representing not only yourself but the law firm.
Yes. Because it's like, what do you think is going to be our next innovation after VOD? Or do you think that is VOD going to pretty much hit the last for the while?
Well, look, you've got YouTube. You've got all these markets, social markets, that are getting into original content. And so besides VOD, there's all these sites. There's all these social sites. There's YouTube, there's AOL, there's Amazon, there's Netflix, there's Yahoo. They all want to get into original content.
Yeah, it's like, are they going to become the new go-to thing? It's like
they are becoming
yes.
players. Yes.
So, and in the future markets in regards to that, it's like they're also going to start becoming a little bit more demanding into the markets, or are they going to become like just a stable player? Like they're going to become the new studio, so to speak.
Well, they're their own studios. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are like a studio without question.
Yep.
From what they achieve, they are buyers. They are buyers.
And they're very valid in terms of their buying agreements.
Yeah. Look, they bought and beat out other distributors films last year.
Wow. Well, because they also have room for more content because people want the variety of content, want to see something that they can't see in other places.
Oh, yeah, except this. I'm probably a dinosaur in that I like to see movies at movie theaters.
Me too.
I like the socialization. I like the camaraderie. I like to be there with a bunch of other people reacting to the movies. I'm not one that is a big person to watch movies on television. And comedies they're not as funny when you sit on your couch to watch them as when you're at the theater, like Hangover, the original Hangover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was hysterical at the movie theater. But then a friend of mine watched it on his couch and he said, I really didn't see what you thought was so funny. There were some funny scenes. I said, because you had a different experience. You did experience with but Melissa McCarthy, as funny in that wedding movie,
Mm-hmm.
and when she's on the street doing what she does on the street, it's funny regardless if you watch it on TV or you saw it in the whole movie. There are things that tend to be just as funny.
But
Oh, yeah.
I agree. It's a totally different thing watching it with a live audience. It's like actors say, you know, the difference between, you know, movie and a stage play is that with the stage play, you get that reaction from the audience that you can then play off of. And I think audience members also play off of each other when they're watching a movie. Everybody else starts laughing, and you begin to realize, oh, yeah, okay, I get it now. And then you laugh.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of movies, and comedies, unless they're edgy, comedies do not necessarily sell well outside of the United States.
Yeah.
It's very hard to get pre-sales on straight comedies.
Yeah, they have to have something that is translated internationally.
They have to be something that's a little edgy.
Yeah.
Or something. But comedies don't generally travel well.
Do you think that we're starting also to get movies with a more social conscience and social media marketing? Yeah, like a more social conscience. It's like, is that starting to happen more also?
Well, look at the movie last year, the one Best Picture, Moonlight.
Yes.
There's not one that has more social content than Moonlight. And then the wonderful women that were in that song.
Hidden Figures.
That movie had social content.
Yeah.
Blindside, the football movie, had social comment. They all have certain. Crazy Heart had social scenes. So at the end of the day, and films that are based on true figures have great social markets, great social aspects to them. So well, not we, but you, people that are writers, you're storytellers, and we want to see your wonderful stories.
Yeah, it's like, and definitely, it's like that's one of the bonuses of being able to see those wonderful stories, but also having it's like, because for a while there we were dipping out of movies that we were remaking basically what had already been made, and it seems now we're falling back into making original content that actually has a message behind it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're not in the business of doing Pirates of the Caribbean 17. No, that's not us. We're in telling stories. When I was in Mississippi at the bayou, these were shacks in the bayou, and at night, these African American people who lived in these shacks down the bayou took out their guitars and started to play and sing. And I said to all of them, you all have stories that would make good movies. We know very little about. This one man told me a story, and I got him in touch with Morgan Freeman, and they're doing the movie.
Wow.
Wow. And it's like, did that story wind up becoming a film or a film in development?
It's still in the development stage.
Very cool.
I mean, so it's just we want the stories. We want the stories. Think of the richness in the Bayou people in Mississippi telling their stories.
Yeah, it's like, it's true, and they have like some really fascinating stuff that has gone on, and very rich historical events that have happened. The one thing that I find very interesting, though, it's like, we've talked about this also briefly. It's like in terms of Canadian film. Canadian film is still trying to find its identity.
Which film?
Canadian films.
Yeah,
still,
well, you know the situation of the movie Birth of a Nation, right?
Yes, a little
Right.
bit. Yes.
Okay, Birth of a Nation was bought at Sundance. Fox Searchlight offered 17.5 million. Netflix
Yes.
offered 20 million.
Mm-hmm.
But they wanted it to go theatrically, and Fox Searchlight paid 17.5 million. And then a month or 2 months later, it came out that the writer, the producer, and the actor was accused of rape. And even though he was found not guilty, the taint ruined the box office.
Absolutely. And but unfortunately, it's like, this is the way that it's also working with it. It's like, it's the way that the industry is evolving, changing consistently. So what do you think, though, also, Corky, is our next big trend in terms of film? What is our next big trends? Also, what is the main thing in terms of legals that you would say to future filmmakers or future filmmakers that are currently there? What are the main things that we need to actually cover our butts, so to speak, about?
Well, look, there are a lot of things. I do speak all over the world on legal and business pitfalls, screenplay through distribution. And then I have done talks about what you need to know, but your lawyer doesn't tell you because it'll cost money. But I'm going to tell you for free. So there are a lot of things that filmmakers need to know. And they need to have a lawyer who's not just a lawyer. They need to have a lawyer that can do all the contracts and that can, but a lawyer who's a student of the business, that knows every aspect of the business that he or she is the lawyer in. Because unless that person is doing that, they're not really supplying what they should to their client.
Well, which makes absolute sense.
And so, look, what I can recommend to all these people in the business is team building is the most important phase in the development process, and finding the right chemistry and right people, and also to be representing a story that resonates, that touches the heart, touches the mind, touches the soul, that they band around and say, we got to get the film.
Because it's like, without having the whole heart and soul behind it, it's like, if you're making it, if you know what they say, if you're making your movie to make money, sure, it's a motivation, but it's not the motivation.
Right. So look, I encourage people that are filmmakers in the business that listen to us to understand they should get off their butt and make the movie that they want to make. They shouldn't sit back and feel for themselves, and they should find enough money to go to and be at places they should be.
Yeah, I mean, money is important, but getting your message out there is even more important. I've told this story several times on this show.
Yeah.
First day of acting school, our acting professor said to us, if you're here because you want to be rich, there's the door. Go find another profession.
All right, all right,
Yeah.
all right. And people have to understand this is a business. It's a film business, and it's a business, and you have to operate it as a business.
And you have to realize it's a business first and foremost. This
All
is
right.
this is not something personal, not something that it's like your story is personal. But the way that the industry runs is a business.
Yeah.
But your story has to be commercial and marketable enough to reach several audience levels. And it can't be, and your own personal story is fine as long as it's a million other people's personal stories. They can resonate, they can understand, they can feel like this is Alice about Alzheimer's. Well, everyone knows the effect of Alzheimer's, but until she portrayed that, and she got such acclaim for doing that. Alzheimer's was something that people went through and suffered, and families got thrown into. A great movie.
Yep.
I'm doing another movie about Alzheimer's called My $1 Million Mom, by the son of someone who had Alzheimer's, and it's a great project.
It is, and one of the things that also a lot of people don't realize there's differences between Alzheimer's and dementia.
Yeah, well, look, a documentary
Yes.
now. Documentaries tell stories that we know nothing about, and several of the documentaries are bought during Sundance. It shows a lot of documentaries, and and so I like seeing the documentaries now because I'm learning about things that I know very little about.
Yeah. Also, it's like we're talking about it's like women filmmakers, emerging filmmakers. What is the best advice that you would say to them? It's like people who are like, oh, I am reluctant to deal with lawyers, because there are many people who are like, well, I'm reluctant to deal with lawyers, kind of people, which I don't understand, but that's me. Again, going to ask you.
Well, look. Um, I have wonderful clients, and about 50 or 60% of my clients are women.
Yes.
And I have wonderful people that listen to me. I don't ask them to follow my advice. I ask them to just listen to it. And my job, as I told you, they know that I'm the ultimate team player. That my goal is to help the movie be made, and anything I can do to do that, anybody I can introduce them to, anybody that I can tell them about, I want to do that. I want them to meet my friends. I have a lot of friends in the business that can help a lot of people with great stories.
Well, and that makes a lot of sense. And one of the things I would also say is those who are worried about in terms of lawyers understand that they're there to help you as a client. And
Yeah, people have to understand that lawyers charge. We,
yes.
if we didn't charge, we'd be in very bad shape. So they come to a lawyer. I do not work on hourly basis. I work on flat fees, so the client will know exactly what it's going to cost before they make a decision. They're not going to be waiting for a bill to know how many hours I spent, and then argue with me saying, I can't believe I spent that many hours, or they speak, I can't believe that my lawyer spent that many hours. So I remove that. I work on flat fees. You tell me what you want me to do, I'll tell you what the cost is.
Yes, which is very important to people as well.
And very unusual for a lawyer.
Yes.
And I personally feel you're to be commended for that.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, because I think that we do a disservice if we do hourly. There's nothing in the film business that I can't set a flat fee for.
And just to also as well, wanted to also take also this 2-second opportunity to say hi to our newest subscriber there, Charlie Nathan. Hey, Charlie, thank you for joining us.
Keep coming back. You're going to learn a lot.
Yes, because it's like, especially with wonderful people like Corky to give you guidance in that sense. And yeah, it's like, what do you also say to those who want to wear multiple hats? Because a lot of people think that the business is like, well, I have to be everything.
No. People have enough trouble being one thing.
Yeah, it's like, don't be multiple things to multiple people.
Very difficult. You should be the expert in the one thing that you feel comfortable doing.
Yeah, if you want to direct, know how to direct, understand the visions of directing. If you want to write, it's like, be the writer that you want to be. If you want to produce, be the producer that and understand the aspects of production. Don't pretend to, don't fake produce.
Yeah, understand filmmaking, but more importantly, understand the business of filmmaking.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing I have. I know the business aspect of what I practice.
Yes.
So I can really guide them. But let's see if we have any questions, because we can go on and on and talk. But the night's getting long.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah, it's like we answered one of our questions there, and also it's like as well. We have to also make mention of the fact that it's like, thank you Production Next for also having us aboard, because they are one of our sponsors. And anybody who wants to come on there can come on to Production Next and just sign in on productionnext.com and say under Movietime.
Under Movietime, and you'll get a very nice special offer right now that they're doing. So
yeah. Now, Corky, I think I was asked there, what new technologies are emerging for filmmakers that we should be aware for legals that may or may not be coming out?
Well, okay. The filmmakers have to understand their intellectual property need. And they should understand that going out of the box, because they have to protect their intellectual property. And if they don't properly protect it, they'll never get the movie distributed. So from the first written document to the film being made, there are many intellectual property aspects that you need to pay attention to. But one thing that I tell these filmmakers is, whenever you decide you're going to get involved in this business and you've written a screenplay or written anything down, that's when you need to go to an intellectual property lawyer and see, what do I need to do?
And you're no longer, are you still protected by the same way by going just to the WGA, or do you really need to now deal with the Library of Congress as well?
Yeah. And then again, I invite everyone on the line who listens to this now or listens to it later, who is in this business, to come to Sundance.
I would absolutely love going to Sundance, like I mentioned. And we will be there this year, if all goes well.
Yeah, all right. So thank you very much.
Yes. How do we get you in social media?
Social media?
Yeah. How do they get you to contact you?
How they can contact me?
Correct. If they would like to contact you.
Well, the best avenue to contact me is to contact me by my cell.
Okay.
925-2110, or they can contact me on LinkedIn. I'm very bad at Facebook and the other social marketing, but myself, 312-925-2110.
Perfect. And Arpo, how do they get a hold of you in social media?
Well, if they want to be social, they can reach me on Facebook. If they want to talk business, I am on LinkedIn. And if they just want to chat, well, you can Skype me. I always enjoy a good chat, but do make sure to mention that you are a fan of Movie Time, because I get way too many marriage proposals from Armenian women and robots trying to steal my credit cards.
Or it's true. They can Skype me as at Corky CORKY dot Kessler KESSLER 3, the number 3.
Perfect. And you can also reach me on LinkedIn, Wikipedia, on Facebook, on Twitter at Sonata Grayson, at Movietime Indie, or on a whole bunch of other social medias as well. And like I say, if you can't find me, you're really not stalking me hard enough with four pages of footage.
Well, I thank both of you for being tremendous hosts.
No, you have been an amazing, incredible guest, and please say that you'll come back to us again.
Well, whenever I get invited back, I will definitely do that. And I want to tell people out there that it's because of people like you both who bring information to them, and unless they continue to listen and to use the information you bring, they're going to miss a lot.
And we totally appreciate it, because it's like there's just so many questions. It's like, and I will send you also some of those follow-up questions that have started coming in on the Sonata Grayson one. So I will find out from them what they wanted as well, since they've been watching too.
It sounds good, and I wish both of you a great evening, and I look forward to having you at Sundance.
Thank you. And
we'll do everything we can to be there.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you on Friday.
All right. Have a nice night. Thanks for listening, folks.
All right. Bye.